Danny Walsh wiped the grease from his hands and looked out the window of his small repair station. Space stretched endlessly in all directions, filled with distant stars that looked like tiny diamonds. His station, Walsh's workshop, floated quietly in the outer edge of human space. It was not much to look at from the outside, but Danny had built it with his own hands over the past 10 years. The station had 3 repair bays, a small living area, and a workshop filled with tools that Danny had collected from all over the galaxy. Most of the big shipping companies used fancy repair yards closer to Earth, but Danny liked it out here. The independent traders and small ship owners who came to him were good people. They paid fair prices and told interesting stories about their travels. Danny was 32 years old and had been fixing ships since he was 16. His father had been a mechanic too, and had taught Danny everything he knew before he died. Danny had no family left, but he did not feel lonely. The steady stream of visitors to his station kept him busy, and he genuinely enjoyed solving the puzzles that broken ships presented to him. He was just finishing his morning coffee when the emergency alert system started beeping. Danny set down his cup and hurried to the communication console. The screen showed a large object approaching his station, moving slowly and sending out distress signals. Danny frowned as he looked at the readings. The ship was huge, much larger than anything that usually visited his station. The computer could not identify what type of vessel it was. The design was completely unknown to human databases. As it got closer, Danny could see it through his telescope. The ship was beautiful in a way that human ships never were. It had smooth curves and what looked like living metal that seemed to pulse with a soft blue light. The communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in a language Danny had never heard before, but his translation computer worked quickly to convert the words into English. Small repair station, this is the vessel Gentle Current. We have critical engine failure and request immediate assistance. We have young ones aboard and cannot reach safe harbor without help. Danny grabbed his microphone. Gentle Current, this is Walsh's workshop. I copy your distress call. What is your current status? There was a pause, then the voice came back. It sounded female, though different from any human woman Danny had ever heard. Our quantum drive matrix has failed. Our engines are losing power quickly. We can maintain life support for perhaps 2 of your Earth days, but we cannot travel. Danny looked at his diagnostic equipment. He had never worked on alien technology before, but he could not just let a ship full of people die in space. Gentle Current, please transmit your technical specifications if you can. I will do whatever I can to help you. You would help us? The voice asked. There was surprise in it. We are not human. We are Kethmori. Does not matter to me, Danny said simply. You need help, and I can try to give it. The alien ship slowly moved closer to Danny's station. As it approached, Danny could see just how massive it really was. His entire station could have fit inside one of the ship's cargo bays. The hull was a beautiful blue-green color that seemed to shift and change in the starlight. Strange symbols were carved into the metal, and what looked like windows glowed with warm golden light. The communication system activated again. May we dock with your station? I would like to speak with you directly. Danny checked his docking systems. His largest bay would barely accommodate a small section of the alien ship, but it would work. Bay 3 is open for you. Come on in. As the alien ship carefully maneuvered into his docking bay, Danny could hear the hull creaking under the strain. The ship was clearly designed for much larger facilities, but somehow they managed to make the connection work. Danny put on his cleanest jumpsuit and walked to the docking bay airlock. He had no idea what to expect. When the airlock door opened, he had to look up and then up some more. The alien who stepped through the door was nearly 9 feet tall. She had 4 arms, skin that shimmered like an oil slick in sunlight, and large eyes that seemed to change color as Danny watched. Despite her size and strange appearance, there was something unmistakably motherly about the way she moved and held herself. "I am Zarathis," she said, her voice much clearer now that they were face to face. "You are very small." Danny could not help but smile. "I am Danny Walsh. You are very tall." Zarathis tilted her head in what might have been amusement. "I thank you for agreeing to help us, Danny Walsh. Most repair stations would not accept an unknown alien vessel." "Most repair stations are missing out," Danny said. "I have never seen a ship as beautiful as yours. What kind of problem are you having with your engines?" Zarathis gestured with two of her hands. "Our quantum drive creates the energy that moves our ship faster than light. But the matrix that contains this energy has begun to fail. If it collapses completely, the explosion would destroy not just our ship, but your station as well." Danny felt a chill run down his spine, but he kept his voice steady. "How long do we have?" "Perhaps 36 hours before total failure," Zarathis replied. "I have 3 young ones aboard. They are my children. I was bringing them home from a journey when this happened." Danny nodded. "Then we better get to work. Can you show me your engine room?" Zarathis looked at him with those strange, color-changing eyes. "You would enter our ship? You do not fear us? Should I?" Danny asked. "Many species do," Zarathis said quietly. "We are large and strong. Our appearance frightens others." Danny shrugged. "My dad always told me that scared people do not fix anything well. If you wanted to hurt me, you would have done it already. Besides, your kids are on that ship. No parent would risk their children just to harm a stranger." For a moment, Zarathis said nothing. Then her eyes shifted to a warm golden color, and Danny sensed that this meant something good. "You are wise for one so young," she said. "Come, let me show you what we are dealing with." Danny followed Zarathis through the airlock and into her ship. The moment he stepped inside, he stopped and stared. The walls seemed to be alive. They had a soft texture and pulsed gently with light that moved like slow heartbeats. The corridor was wide enough for Zarathis to walk comfortably, which meant Danny felt very small as he walked beside her. "Your ship is incredible," Danny said, running his hand along the wall. It felt warm and smooth, like touching the side of a sleeping animal. "Thank you," Zarathis replied. "Kethmori ships are grown, not built. We work with living metal that responds to our needs. It is old technology, passed down through many generations." As they walked deeper into the ship, Danny heard voices ahead. Young voices, speaking in the musical language of the Kethmori. When they entered what seemed to be a common area, 3 smaller aliens looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. The children were about half the size of their mother, but still taller than Danny. They had the same shimmering skin and 4 arms, but their eyes were brighter and seemed to change colors more quickly. One of them, the smallest, was sitting on the floor playing with what looked like a complex puzzle made of glowing pieces. "These are my children," Zarathis said with obvious pride in her voice. "Kess is my eldest, Thrall is in the middle, and little Vix is my youngest." Kess, who seemed to be about the equivalent of a human teenager, stepped forward and looked down at Danny. "You are the human who will fix our ship?" she asked in careful English. "I am going to try," Danny said. "What do you think of humans?" "I have never seen one before," Kess admitted. "You are much smaller than I expected. And you only have 2 arms. How do you carry things?" Danny laughed and pulled a small tool from his pocket. He tossed it into the air and caught it with one hand, then passed it to his other hand. "We get creative," he said. Thrall, who had been hanging back shyly, came closer. "Can you really fix quantum engines?" "They are very complicated. I do not know yet, Danny said honestly. But I have never met an engine I could not understand, even if I could not always fix it. Your mother says you have about 36 hours. That should be enough time to figure out what is wrong. Little Vix looked up from her puzzle and said something in Kethmori. Zarathus translated. She says you smell different from us. Not bad different, just different. Tell her she smells different too, Danny said with a grin. But different can be good. Zarathus led Danny through more corridors to the engine room. When the door opened, Danny's breath caught in his throat. The room was enormous, filled with machinery that looked like nothing he had ever seen. At the center was a sphere about the size of a small house, suspended in the air by invisible forces. It glowed with shifting patterns of light, but Danny could see dark spots spreading across its surface like some kind of infection. That is our quantum drive matrix, Zarathus explained. It contains and controls the energy that moves our ship. The dark areas are cascade failures. Each failure makes the next one more likely. Danny walked around the sphere, studying it from all angles. He pulled out his diagnostic scanner and pointed it at the drive. The readings made no sense at first, but as he watched the patterns, he began to see something familiar. The energy. Flow is unstable, he said, more to himself than to Zarathus. The matrix is trying to contain more power than it can handle, so it is breaking down in sections. You understand it? Zarathus asked, surprised. I understand the principle, Danny said. It is like a dam holding back a river. If the dam gets cracks, water leaks through and makes the cracks bigger. Eventually, the whole dam breaks. Danny spent the next hour studying the engine while Zarathus explained how it worked. The technology was far beyond anything humans had developed, but the basic physics were the same. Energy needed to be contained and controlled. When containment failed, bad things happened. I cannot fix the matrix itself, Danny finally said. It is too advanced for my tools. But I might be able to build a bypass system. If I can route some of the energy around the damaged sections, it might reduce the pressure enough to stop the failures from spreading. Is such a thing possible? Zarathus asked. Maybe, Danny said. I would need to connect some of my equipment to your ship systems. It would not be pretty, and it would not be permanent, but it might get you home. They were interrupted by Kess calling from the common area. Her voice sounded worried. When they returned, they found little Vix lying on a soft cushion, breathing heavily. Her skin had lost some of its shimmer and looked dull. What is wrong? Zarathus asked, kneeling beside her youngest child. The life support systems are failing along with the engines, Kess explained. The air is getting thinner and the temperature is dropping. Danny knelt beside Vix and gently touched her forehead. She felt cold. How long can she last like this? Not long, Zarathus said quietly. Young Kethmori need more oxygen than adults. If the life support fails completely, Danny stood up quickly. I have emergency oxygen tanks on my station. And medical supplies. Let me get them. You would share your supplies with us? Thrall asked. Of course, Danny said. That is what people do for each other. Danny hurried back to his station and gathered everything he thought might help. Oxygen tanks, a portable heater, medical supplies, and even some of his own food. When he returned, he set up the oxygen tank next to Vix and adjusted the flow so she could breathe easier. Within minutes, her color started to return, and she sat up. She looked at Danny and said something in Kethmori. She says thank you, Zarathus translated. Her voice was thick with emotion. She also says you are very kind for such a small person. Danny smiled and ruffled Vix's head gently. Tell her she is very brave for such a little person. As Vix giggled at his words, Danny saw Zarathus watching him with those color-changing eyes. They had turned a deep, warm gold It somehow conveyed more gratitude than words could express. "I will fix your ship," Danny said quietly. "I promise." "I believe you will," Zarathis replied. "But even if you cannot, you have already given us something precious. You have given us hope." Danny nodded and headed back to the engine room. He had work to do, and not much time to do it. But now he was not just fixing a ship, he was saving a family. Danny worked through the night, moving back and forth between his workshop and the alien engine room. He had never tackled anything this complex before, but he broke the problem down into smaller pieces that he could understand. The quantum drive was like a giant puzzle, and Danny had always been good at puzzles. By morning, he had a plan. He could not fix the alien technology directly, but he could build a bridge around the damaged parts using his own equipment. It would be like building a detour around a broken road. Zarathis found him in his workshop, surrounded by cables, power converters, and pieces of machinery. "You have not slept," she observed. "Sleep is for people who do not have quantum drives." "Trying to explode," Danny said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Besides, I think I know what to do now." He showed her the device he had been building. It looked like a metal box covered in wires and blinking lights. "This is a power regulator. It will take some of the energy from your quantum drive and route it through my equipment instead of through the damaged parts of your matrix." Zarathis studied the device with her large eyes. "It looks very different from our technology." "That is the point," Danny said. "Your ship is trying to fix itself using damaged parts. My equipment will give it a different path to follow, like water flowing around a rock in a stream." The children had gathered in the doorway to watch Danny work. Vix was feeling much better thanks to the oxygen Danny had provided. She was carrying her puzzle box and seemed fascinated by all the human tools. "Can we help?" Kess asked. Danny looked at the three young aliens. "Actually, yes. I need someone to monitor the quantum readings while I install this. Your ship's computers speak your language better than mine." For the next several hours, Danny worked with the alien family to install his jury-rigged solution. Kess proved to be very good with technical systems, calling out readings and warnings as Danny connected his equipment to the quantum drive. Thrall helped carry tools and parts, his 4 arms making him surprisingly useful. Even little Vix helped by organizing the smaller components and keeping them sorted. Zarathis watched everything with careful attention. "I have never seen anyone work the way you do," she said. "Most technicians follow strict procedures. You seem to invent new procedures as you go." "Every problem is different," Danny said, carefully connecting a power cable. "You have to be willing to try new things. The worst that can happen is it does not work, and then you try something else." "And if it explodes?" Thrall asked nervously. "Then we will have about 3 seconds to say goodbye to each other," Danny said cheerfully. "But I do not think it will explode. Probably." Despite his joking tone, Danny was being extremely careful. He tested each connection multiple times and had backup plans for his backup plans. The alien family was counting on him, and he would not let them down. As he worked, Danny found himself enjoying the company. The children asked him questions about Earth and human technology. He told them about cities and oceans, about how humans had learned to fly by watching birds, and about the first time people had traveled to other planets. In return, they told him about their home world, which had floating cities in the clouds and oceans that glowed with bioluminescent creatures. They described their culture, where families often traveled between stars together, conducting business and exploring new worlds. "It sounds wonderful," Danny said. "I would like to see it someday." "You would be welcome," Zarathis said simply. "Any friend of my family is always welcome in our home." The work took most of the second day. Danny's equipment was not designed to interface with alien technology, so he had to create custom adapters and write new control programs. Several times, he had to stop and completely redesign parts of the system when his first attempts did not work. But finally, everything was connected. Danny stood back and looked at his creation. It was not pretty. Human cables and alien conduits were woven together like some kind of technological spider web. Warning lights blinked in 3 different languages. The whole thing hummed and buzzed, with barely contained energy. "It looks dangerous," Kess observed. "All the best repairs look dangerous," Danny said. "Are you ready to test it?" Zarathus nodded. "We trust you, Danny Walsh." Danny activated his control system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the quantum drive's glow began to change. The dark spots that had been spreading across its surface stopped growing. The chaotic energy patterns inside began to smooth out and flow in more regular patterns. "It is working," Thrall whispered. The ship's main lights came back on. The temperature regulation system restarted. Fresh air began circulating again. All around them, the living walls of the ship began to pulse, with stronger, healthier rhythms. "Life support is back to normal," Kess reported, reading from her control panel. "Engine power is stabilizing at 60% capacity. 60% will be enough to get us home," Zarathus said. Her eyes had turned a brilliant gold color that Danny was beginning to recognize as joy. Little Vix ran up to Danny and hugged his leg, chattering excitedly in Kethmori. "She says you are the best mechanic in the galaxy," Zarathus translated. "Tell her I had good helpers," Danny said, smiling down at the little alien. But even as they celebrated, Danny knew this was just a temporary fix. The bypass system would work for a few weeks, maybe a month if they were lucky. After that, they would need proper repairs at a facility equipped to handle Kethmori technology. "This will get you home," he told Zarathus. "But you will need to have your quantum drive properly rebuilt once you reach your people." "I understand," she said. "What you have done is more than enough. You have saved our lives." Zarathus reached into a pouch at her side and pulled out a small device. "This is a communication unit. It will allow us to stay in contact across any distance. I would be honored if you would accept it." Danny took the device. It was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse gently like a living thing. "I would like that." "Very much." As the alien family prepared to depart, Danny felt a strange sadness. In just 2 days, these people had become important to him. He was going to miss them. "Thank you, Danny Walsh," Zarathus said formally. "You have shown us that humans are truly remarkable people. Your kindness will not be forgotten. Take care of yourselves," Danny said. "And maybe someday you can show me those floating cities you told me about." "Someday," Zarathus agreed. "I promise." 2 weeks after Zarathus and her family left, Danny was back to his normal routine. He fixed a broken cargo hauler for a trader named Captain Brooks, replaced the navigation system on a mining ship, and helped a young pilot whose engine was making strange noises. It was good work, but somehow it felt different now. After working on alien technology, regular human ships seemed almost simple. Danny often used the communication device Zarathus had given him. It was amazing technology that could reach across the galaxy instantly. He talked with the children almost every day. Kess told him about the schools on their home world. Thrall shared pictures of the floating cities. Little Vix always wanted to hear stories about Earth and asked when Danny would come visit them. On a quiet Tuesday morning, Danny was drinking coffee and reading repair manuals when his communication system started beeping. It was not the emergency signal, just a regular incoming message. Danny expected it to be another customer, but the voice that came through was different. "Walsh's workshop. This is Lisa Martinez from Stellar Dynamics Corporation. We would like to speak with you about a business opportunity." Danny nearly choked on his coffee. Stellar Dynamics was one of the biggest companies in human space. They owned hundreds of ships and had repair facilities on dozens of worlds. Danny could not imagine why they would want to talk to him. "This is Danny Walsh," he said into his microphone. "Are you sure you have the right station?" "We are very sure, Mr. Walsh. We have heard about your exceptional work, particularly with unusual technical challenges. We would like to offer you a contract position with our company." An hour later, a sleek corporate shuttle arrived at Danny's station. Lisa Martinez turned out to be a serious woman in an expensive business suit. She had short black hair and the kind of confident manner that came from working for a powerful company. Two other corporate representatives came with her, both carrying electronic tablets and looking very official. "Mr. Walsh," Lisa said as she stepped aboard his station, "we have a proposition that we think will interest you greatly." They sat in Danny's small office while Lisa explained the offer. Stellar Dynamics wanted to hire Danny as a specialist repair technician for what they called their exotic vessel division. The job would involve traveling to different corporate facilities to work on their most challenging repair cases. "What kind of ships are we talking about?" Danny asked. "Vessels that incorporate non-human technology," Lisa explained. "Ships that have been modified with alien systems, or that use hybrid power sources. The kind of problems that our regular technicians cannot solve." Danny leaned back in his chair. "How did you hear about me?" "I am just a small operation out here." Lisa smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "We have very good information networks, Mr. Walsh. Word travels fast about technicians who can solve the impossible." One of the other representatives, a man named Paul Chun, leaned forward. "We are prepared to offer you more money than you have probably ever seen, plus full travel expenses, access to advanced diagnostic equipment, and the chance to work on technology that most people will never even see." The numbers they showed Danny were incredible. The contract would pay him 10 times what he made from his current work. He would have his own corporate shuttle, a team of assistants, and access to research facilities that had equipment worth millions of dollars. "This seems too good to be true," Danny said honestly. "Companies like Stellar Dynamics do not usually notice people like me." "You underestimate yourself," Lisa said. "We have reviewed reports of your recent work. Your ability to improvise solutions using limited resources is exactly what we need." Danny thought about Zarathis and her family. He had not told anyone else about the alien ship, but somehow these people seemed to know about it. "What kind of reports?" "Our monitoring systems track all spacecraft in this sector," Paul explained. "When an unknown vessel appeared at your station and left fully repaired, it caught our attention. Very few people could have accomplished such a feat. We are not asking you to reveal any confidential information about your previous clients," Lisa added quickly. "We simply want to use your talents on a larger scale." Danny walked to his window and looked out at the stars. The offer was tempting, very tempting. He could buy better equipment, expand his station, maybe even hire some help. But something felt strange about the whole situation. "How do you know I can handle alien technology?" he asked. "Most of my work has been on standard human ships." "Call it an educated guess," Lisa said. "Sometimes the best technicians are the ones who think outside normal procedures. We believe you are that kind of person." Danny spent the rest of the day thinking about the offer. That evening, he called Zarathis using the communication device she had given him. Her face appeared on the small screen, her eyes shifting to a pleased green color when she saw him. "Danny, how wonderful to hear from you. How have you been?" "I am fine," Danny said. "Zarathis, I have a question. After you left here, did anyone ask you about your ship repair?" Zarathis tilted her head. "Several people were curious about how we managed to fix our quantum drive so far from proper facilities. Why do you ask? I just received a job offer from a big corporation. They seem to know about the work I did on your ship, but I never told anyone about it. Ah, Zarathus said, and her eyes shifted to a thoughtful purple color. That is interesting. What kind of job offer? Danny explained about stellar dynamics and their exotic vessel division. As he talked, he noticed that Zarathus's expression grew more and more amused, though she tried to hide it. This sounds like a wonderful opportunity, she said when he finished. Do you think you will accept? I am not sure, Danny said. It feels like there is something they are not telling me. Do you know anything about stellar dynamics? I know they are a very good company, Zarathus said carefully. They treat their employees well and do honest business throughout the galaxy. If they have offered you work, you should consider it seriously. After ending the call, Danny made his decision. The next morning, he contacted Lisa Martinez and accepted the contract. Within a week, his new corporate shuttle arrived along with a team of assistants and enough advanced equipment to make his old workshop look like a child's toy box. The work was everything they had promised. Danny traveled to different stellar dynamics facilities, solving problems that had stumped teams of regular technicians. He repaired ships with Andorian crystal drives, fixed vessels with Rigelian bioneural computers, and even worked on a cargo hauler that used a power source based on controlled black hole technology. Every job taught him something new, and Danny found himself becoming an expert in technologies he had never dreamed existed. The pay was excellent, the work was challenging, and his new colleagues treated him with respect. But through it all, Danny could not shake the feeling that there was more to this situation than anyone was telling him. Stellar dynamics seemed to have an unusual interest in alien technology, and several times he overheard conversations about cross-species partnerships and interstellar cooperation initiatives. Danny was about to learn that some mysteries were more surprising than he could have ever imagined. 6 months had passed since Danny started working for Stellar Dynamics. He had become their best exotic technology specialist, solving problems that other technicians said were impossible. Danny's reputation had grown throughout the company, and he was now based at their main headquarters station near Jupiter. The headquarters was impressive, a massive structure that could house thousands of workers and dozens of large ships. Danny had his own workshop with equipment that made his old station look like ancient history. He had a team of 5 assistants, and access to databases filled with technical information from dozens of alien species. Danny still talked with Zarathus and her children regularly. They had reached their homeworld safely, and Zarathus had been able to get her quantum drive properly repaired. The children were back in school, but they still loved hearing about Danny's adventures with different alien technologies. He often wondered when he would be able to visit them like they had talked about. On a busy Thursday morning, Danny was working on a particularly challenging problem. A ship had arrived with a fusion drive that used technology from 3 different alien species. The drives were fighting each other instead of working together, and the ship could barely maintain orbit. Danny was deep in thought, studying the drive schematics, when his assistant Kevin ran into the workshop. Danny, you need to see this. There is something big happening in the executive docking bay. I am busy, Kevin, Danny said without looking up. Unless the station is exploding, it can wait. Trust me, you want to see this? Kevin insisted. They are rolling out the red carpet for someone really important. Lisa Martinez and all the top executives are there. Danny sighed and followed Kevin to the observation deck that overlooked the executive docking bay. Through the large windows, he could see corporate officials lined up in their best uniforms. Lisa Martinez was there, along with the company president and several board members. Everyone looked nervous and excited at the same time. A sleek ship was approaching the docking bay. It was clearly alien in design, with the same flowing curves and biometallic hull that Danny remembered from months ago. As the ship got closer, Danny's heart started beating faster. He recognized those elegant lines and the way the hull seemed to pulse with gentle light. "That is a Kethmori ship," Danny said quietly. "You know about the Kethmori?" Kevin asked, surprised. Most people have never heard of them. Danny watched as the ship docked with smooth precision. The executives straightened their uniforms and prepared to greet whoever was aboard. Danny expected to see some unknown alien dignitary step out, but when the airlock opened, his mouth fell open in shock. Zarathis emerged from the ship, but she looked different than Danny remembered. She was wearing what appeared to be formal business clothing adapted for her species, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone used to command. Behind her came Kess, Thrall, and little Vix, all dressed in similar formal attire. The corporate executives bowed respectfully as Zarathis approached. Lisa Martinez stepped forward and said something that Danny could not hear from his position, but her body language showed deep respect, almost reverence. "Who is that?" Kevin asked. Danny could not speak. He was watching his friend, the worried mother whose ship he had repaired, being treated like the most important person in the galaxy by his own company's leadership. Danny left, Kevin on the observation deck, and hurried down to the docking bay level. He stayed back in the corridor, hidden behind a support pillar where he could hear what was being said. "Welcome back to Stellar Dynamics, Madam Zarathis," Lisa Martinez was saying. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "Thank you, Lisa," Zarathis replied in perfect English. "I trust everything is proceeding well with our new initiatives." "Very well indeed," the company president said, stepping forward. "Our exotic vessel division has exceeded all projections. The technician you recommended has been extraordinary." Danny felt the world spinning around him. The technician she recommended? Him? "I am pleased to hear it," Zarathis said. "Danny Walsh is a remarkable individual. His work represents exactly the kind of cooperation between species that I hoped to foster when we created this division." Little Vix tugged on her mother's arm and pointed down the corridor. "Mama, is that Danny hiding behind that pillar?" Danny's heart stopped. Every eye in the docking bay turned toward his hiding spot. There was nothing to do but step out and face whatever was happening. "Hello, Zarathis," Danny said weakly as he walked toward the group. Zarathis' eyes immediately shifted to that warm golden color he remembered so well. "Danny, what a wonderful surprise to see you here." The corporate executives looked confused. "You two know each other?" Lisa Martinez asked. "Know each other?" Zarathis laughed, a sound like musical chimes. "This man saved my family's lives. He is the reason I decided to invest in human ingenuity and create our partnership with Stellar Dynamics." Danny stared at her. "Invest? Partnership?" Zarathis gestured with two of her hands toward the executives. "Danny Walsh, I would like you to meet the board of directors of Stellar Dynamics Corporation, the company I founded 15 years ago, to promote peaceful cooperation between species throughout the galaxy." The room was completely silent except for the gentle hum of the station's life support systems. Danny felt like he might faint. "You own Stellar Dynamics?" he whispered. "I am the primary shareholder and founding partner," Zarathis confirmed. "When you helped my family, I was so impressed by human creativity and kindness that I decided to create opportunities for more humans to work with alien technology. The exotic vessel division was designed specifically to give you a chance to use your talents on a larger scale." Kess stepped forward with a big smile. "We have been planning this surprise for months. Mama wanted to repay your kindness, but she also wanted to help other humans learn what you taught us about cooperation." Thrall nodded enthusiastically. "You showed us that different species can work together to solve any problem. Mama thought more people should have that chance." Little Vix ran up to Danny and hugged him around the waist. "Did we surprise you?" Danny looked down at the little. alien who had first shown him the power of interspecies friendship. Then he looked at Zarathus, who was watching him with those color-changing eyes that now showed nothing but warmth and affection. "You certainly did," Danny said, finally finding his voice. "But why all the secrecy? Why not just tell me?" "Would you have accepted the job if you knew I was behind it?" Zarathus asked gently. "Or would you have felt like it was charity?" Danny thought about it and realized she was right. He would have felt uncomfortable taking help from someone he had helped. "You know me too well. I know you are the kind of person who wants to earn his success," Zarathus said. "And you have. Everything you have accomplished here, you did with your own skill and hard work. I simply provided the opportunity." Lisa Martinez stepped forward with a smile. "Mr. Walsh, we would like to offer you a promotion. How would you feel about becoming our new Director of Interspecies Technology Development?" Danny looked around at all the faces watching him expectantly. Human executives, his alien friends who had become like family, and his assistants who had followed him down to see what was happening. "Does this mean I get to work with even more alien technology?" Danny asked. "Much more," Zarathus confirmed. "And you will be training both human and alien technicians in your methods. The goal is to create a new generation of engineers who see cooperation as natural." Danny grinned. "When do I start?" As celebration erupted around him, Danny realized that fixing one broken ship had changed not just his life, but potentially the relationship between species throughout the galaxy. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness had the biggest consequences, and sometimes the best repairs were the ones that brought people together.